Welcome to another episode of Andy's Pod, y'all. And today we're doing things a little bit different. And why we're doing things a little bit different, you'll understand in about 30 seconds. Now, we are posting here the live session that I had with Udi from Gong. Udi helped grow Gong as the CMO from 0 to over 200 million in revenue over a period of like 5 to 6 years or something. Just amazing fella. Udi is. I'm even going to send him cookies. It was so good. These cookies are amazing. I can't wait for him to get them. Last crumb. This is not an advertisement, but they're really good cookies. But he just dropped so much knowledge that I'm even going to take and put into like my company's manifesto, Distributes Manifesto. And one of the things that he said that really resonated with me was being different is better than being better. Again, being different is better than being better. And that really resonated with me for a few reasons. The first reason is because I've been told so many times like, oh, you're not a typical, CEO, founder of a company. You do things differently. And like, some people may see it as a bad thing. I think it's an amazing thing, right? I don't want to be another person in the suit. And so with that, it validated that for me personally, but also from a marketing standpoint, it's so true, right? If you're doing the same thing everyone else is doing, it's not going to stand out. And so that really stuck with me. And then building on that, it's like, if you try and be better, something that Udi said, it's not good enough today to be 2x or 3x better. You have to be 20 times better if that's the route you want to go from a marketing standpoint. And when you think about that, it's just a lot easier to try to be different than it is to be 20x better, because being 2x better is hard enough, right? And so just such a great nugget there that I'm going to put in the company manifesto. I can't wait for y'all that was one that really stood out to me. I can't wait for y'all to hear all the other stuff. So enjoy. Thank you all so much. If you need anything, shoot me a DM. I'm all over the DMs on LinkedIn. I make sure to try and respond to everyone. So let me know. Thank you all so much. Enjoy this session with Udi and looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Thank you all. So Udi, let's get into it, my friend, because I know we have 30 minutes or we have 20 minutes here. I think we want to do a 20-minute workshop here. Selfishly, I want to learn your secrets, right? What are the secrets to B2B branding when you're getting started specifically?
They're yours for the taking.
That, and then we'll do some Q&A at the end here from people that comment here. So Udi, let's get into it, my friend. The first question I want to ask you, Udi, and I say these two, which is like, you're a new company, you're a startup, and you feel like everything's saturated right now. Like, it's like, how do you stand out? How do you get in front of people? How do you get customers? You raised a bunch of money, right? So for you, like, what is that first step, right? Like to becoming a brand name, a brand voice. And like, maybe you can walk us through how you did it with Gong, because I'm personally taking notes here and like, how the heck do you do it? Is what I want to know. Yeah.
I love that question, Andy, because I think if more people just spend more time asking that question like you're doing, we'd see a ton of more interesting brands and a lot more interesting content marketing out there. Here's how we did it at Gong, and I'll try to generalize that lesson for folks out there.
Yeah.
At Gong, my first hire was Chris Orlob, a name many of you know. He's moved on now and doing other great things. But what we did together in the first few months at Gong is we created the Gong Labs content series. And the Gong Labs content series, in case you haven't come across it, is we use Gong's platform to create unique insights about what works and doesn't work in sales. You'd think that people already figured it all out, but turns out they haven't. When we just got started in 2016, there was no data to show you how many questions you should ask on a discovery call and how long a salesperson should speak and when, God forbid, you should swear on a sales call. Turns out salespeople who swear on sales calls have 8% higher win rates. And when you should apologize and how you should start the call. Do you know what works better if I ask, hey, Andy, how have you been? Or, hey, Andy, is this a bad time for you? One is a clear winner according to data, but people use both of them. In case you're curious, it's, hi, Andy, how have you been? Works about 10 times better than, Andy, is this a bad time for you? Because by asking that, I'm planting the idea that this is a bad time for you, even if you were just doing nothing but twiddling your thumbs. So we had the data, and we used our platform to come up with this, analyzing our customer calls. And by packaging these charts and data into delightful, useful stories that salespeople everywhere could use in their everyday, we were creating fans. And the best thing about using this as a marketing tactic is that it costs almost nothing because we create all that data and stories in-house. I didn't pay anyone external to do this. And then I use our organic email channels and organic social channels to get this out there. So that didn't cost me anything.
Yeah.
And then people start tagging their friends. Hey, Bob, this is exactly what we were talking about this morning when we were arguing whether you can use the F-bomb on a sales call. Come read this. And then their friend also follows our social channel and they subscribe to our newsletter. And that's how we grew our organic following at a tiny, tiny cost that I could work with in my shoestring budget. So think about what can you produce that would provide unique insights that your audience can't get anywhere else. Many times the answer lies in your own technology and analysis of whatever you're doing. If it doesn't, you can consider doing primary surveys and asking provocative, polarizing, counterintuitive questions that would produce these really interesting insights. There are many ways of doing that, but at the end of the day, great content that people follow you for way before they're ready to buy your product, that's always going to work. And I'll end by quickly listing the 3 things that I found are the elements of effective content. Number 1, it's hyper relevant. So I feel as a consumer that it's for me. If you're trying to sell me 3 tips for a better life, that sounds so generic and fluffy that why would I even bother checking it out? But if you're selling something, if you're producing a piece of content that's 3 budget mistakes that CMOs are making this quarter, and I'm a CMO and I want to know which budget mistakes I need to avoid because it's budget season, I'm going to click through into that. So make sure I know and make it hyper relevant that it's for me. 2, make it interesting and timely. So you want to create a sense of urgency because that save for later, when was the last time you went and checked your save for later folder? Never. You never go and read something that didn't create a sense of urgency for consuming it now. So make sure that you're talking about something that can add value to my day today. If I'm a salesperson, I want to know how to start my next cold call because as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to pick up my phone and make a cold call. If I can 3x my success rates by just switching the first line, why would I not consume that right now? So create a sense of urgency by making it interesting, not about your thoughts as a leader in the space. If I don't care about them, you're not a thought leader. You're only a thought leader if someone consumes your thoughts, and that's not a leader. No, seriously.
Yeah. No,
if you're a thought leader alone in the forest, are you still a thought leader? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So you've got to have something that's interesting and creates a sense of urgency. And then the third thing is make your content immediately applicable, immediately consumable. Our attention spans, and there's data on this, has gone way down, right? TikTok is doing magic with 15-second videos. Why are you still writing a 40-page white paper? When was the last time you read a 40-page white paper? Never.
Yes, death to white papers. That's our whole motto. So yes, at distribute.
The only ones who read those are your competitors because they're hoping to find something interesting in there. They're the only ones reading your 40-page white paper. Why are you still producing those?
Yes.
If you have like 4 interesting data charts, how about putting one at a time on social media to make it consumable within 30 seconds? And then if people find that interesting, give them somewhere to click through to get another one. But don't give this wall of text that people are looking at because ain't nobody got time for that. So keep it hyper relevant, interesting and timely, and immediately applicable, and you should be good.
Yes. Well, thank you. And Udi, something interesting that, like, if we look at everything that you're saying right now, there's a couple of things that I've gotten out of this, which is 1, unique insights, right? Your content strategy, the whole strategy was how do we be unique and put stuff out there that no one else can? You didn't say, how do I put out more email template stuff that's a little bit better, right? You said, no, we're going to lead with unique insights, right? And some other companies, for example, will lead with like a strong opinion or, someone once told me that every software company is like a spreadsheet with an opinion, right? And some people like really lean into that. And so some people will lean into that, but you guys, I think, were best at doing those unique insights. And guess what? Using your own product to do it, which makes me think, like, how can we gather unique insights and distill those for people in a consumable, articulate way, which I think is part of the magic too, right? Like,
so I'll say 2 things on that, Andy. 1, you're absolutely right. And the most condensed form of that is the following very simple sentence. Different is better than better. I'll repeat that. Different is better than better. If you keep that in mind, just put a post-it on your screen. Different is better than better. And keep that in mind every time you post on LinkedIn, every time you create a piece of content. You want to be different. That will be better than trying to be a little bit better. Because here's what. To stand out by being better, you have to be 20 times better, not 20% better. You have to be 20 times better. And that's really, really, really hard to do. I don't know how to be 20 times better. I'm not.
No.
So I'm different instead. Like,
yeah.
I'm the only chief evangelist, former CMO with Muppets behind me, and people ask me about that Kermit. I'm different. I'm not trying to be a little bit better. I'm trying to be different. And that's a great conversation starter, by the way. So you want to be different. Now, it can be done with unique insights like the Gong Lab series, and many other companies have created amazing unique insights. Sometimes it is just your opinion. A great example is Elon Musk. Love him or hate him, he's got very different opinions on everything, right? He just thinks different. And everyone amplifies his thoughts either because they're trying to say how they're appalled by them, or they're trying to promote and amplify him for that reason. But he's different, and he creates a conversation about himself. So you don't have to have unique insights, but you do have to have a strong point of view. The best marketing has a strong point of view. Look at what HubSpot did years ago when they promoted inbound marketing. When it was not a thing that people were talking about, they created this whole movement about inbound marketing. Look at what Drift did in its early years during Dave Gerhardt's time and then Trisha Gilman there. They talked about conversational marketing, and they had a really strong point of view about forums being dead and how chat is going to be the next interface. Now, you could argue how much of that became a reality or not, but you can't argue with the fact that everyone was talking about what they were doing at the time. And Gong did that with our insights about what works and doesn't work in sales. You don't have to buy our platform to be part of that conversation. But of course, we're doing it in hopes that when you are ready to buy at some point, we will be the first brand that you connect our thought leadership to, because you've been getting all this value from Gong. Why would you not consider Gong first for your revenue intelligence needs?
Yeah, and here's the other interesting point, Udi. We start with, this whole thing was around brand. And I said, where do you get started with brand? And you instantly went to content.
100%.
Why is that? Why, like, what's your opinion on like the content? Because like, there's the obvious answer, right? But like, what is your insights on why you directly straight up went to content first before brand colors and all this stuff, right?
So let me zoom out. Let me zoom out to the brand question, and then I'll zoom back into the content, and it'll be And so here's one thing you can quote me on. Brand is too important to leave it to marketing. Brand is too important to leave it to marketing. And I'll explain. Jeff Bezos said that brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Okay? Brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Now, you have some control over that. It's true for both people and companies when you think about it, right?
Yeah.
Think of that person who leaves the room and then you immediately say something that you couldn't say to their face. That's their brand. That's what they're known for. They're either the obnoxious person or they're the delightful person. There's a famous saying, I hope I don't mess it up, that some people bring joy wherever they go, others whenever they go. So you want to be the one who brings joy wherever you go. And what are people going to say about you? And the point, going back to my saying of marketing is too important to leave it to brand, is that the entire company needs to take part in creating the brand. Gong wanted to be known for creating raving fans. Now, the bad way of doing that would be marketing, promoting, we're creating raving fans. Gong is creating raving fans. Come be a raving fan. That would be completely discredited if our technical support engineers were giving a bad experience to our customers, or if our recruiting coordinators ghosted a candidate. That would be so uncredible, and people would just stop tuning into it. I would never be able to create the idea that we were creating raving fans. So instead of doing that, the CEO and the management team and everyone across the company decided that we're going to create raving fans. And we teach our technical support engineers how to create raving fans. We teach our recruiting coordinators how to create raving fans. We teach our product engineers how to jump on calls with customers to really see how they're using the product and turn them into raving fans. Now, when the entire company is working with one operating principle in mind, and we have 8 of those, that's just one. When they're working with that operating principle, everyone's creating raving fans, now the magic really happens because customers and prospects and candidates are unsolicited posting their experiences and how they became raving fans of Gong. And now all marketing has to do is amplify those stories. And now we've created this brand that when we leave the room, people say, oh yeah, the Gong experience, like there's nothing like it. I'm a raving fan. People say that not because marketing put that on a poster or a billboard, but because our customers are feeling that. Even candidates who didn't get an offer from Gong, they'll go to Glassdoor and they'll write a rave review about the experience that they went through. Who does that? That's how you know that created a raving fan experience. And you do that across the board. And marketing can't do that alone. A marketer who accepts the task of going to create the brand is going to fail. It's going to fail. It's not a marketing project. Brand is too important to leave it to marketing. That's what I meant by that. It has to come from the CEO. It has to go through the entire company. If you want the company to be known for something, every person of the company needs to live and breathe that thing before you are known for it. And then, only then, marketing can be the steward of the brand and amplify that when it happens. Okay, so that's the widest sort of circle that I think about when thinking about brand. Now, when you jump into that, I'll zoom in now.
Yeah.
So what can marketing do to jumpstart or accelerate some of that stuff? And that's when you get to content marketing. Because I think marketing has a lot of control on content that's either created organically by the field. And my job as a marketer at Gong was 10 times easier than most marketing jobs because we had all these raving fans almost from day one that I could amplify their story. I've worked at companies where that was not the case. I worked at companies where our product was at a disadvantage, our service was subpar, very few people had good things to say about that, and I was worried about trying to hide and conceal and push them down the Google results rather than amplify their story.
Yeah.
That's not a fun position to be in. So make sure you're working at a company where there's all this goodness happening that marketing can amplify, because that makes your job 10 times, if not 100 times easier. And one of the things we can create in marketing is content marketing, which brings us to the discussion that we started with. And that really helps accelerate the whole process.
And like the golden nugget that I'm getting out of this is like a company's marketing is not just a marketing department, as your quote, you mentioned. It's everyone is almost part of marketing.
And everything you do is marketing. Everything you do, the way you put out a product is marketing. The way you treat a candidate is marketing. The way our office receptionist treats guests is marketing.
Yeah, and that's something that I think 99.9% of people or companies don't do. They don't realize that, right? That like
without shaming any companies out there, just think about companies that assumed what you just said and were either discriminating employees or treating them in a shitty way. I just saw a colleague of mine yesterday post on LinkedIn that she was rescinded an offer from a company when they found out she was pregnant. How horrific.
I saw that.
Horrific.
Saw that. Oh my gosh.
Like, how narrow-minded are the people at the company who didn't think that would get out there and tarnish their reputation? And she was so good about, like, she was not shaming them. She was not mentioning them. But what a horrific experience to go through. And these things inevitably get out. And we've all heard the stories about the companies that employees are harassed or harassment is not taken seriously by management and HR, and then CEOs are flying all over the place trying to fix this stuff. We've all heard all of that is marketing. All of that.
And you know what's crazy about that story? And I'm glad she put that out there, and she did it in a very professional way.
Yes.
I thought it was class, like the way she did it. And I commented on it because, like, I'm a dad, you're a dad, like, and like, I've had a pregnant wife. I'm like, that is bullshit, right? That is just complete bullshit. And, the other interesting part that you mentioned, that not to get too much into this situation, but like, did they not think that this person also has an amazing following of people online? Did you not check that? Like, you probably didn't want to work there anyways if they're not doing it.
I think they did her a favor, in a quote unquote favor.
Yeah.
Because she probably would have left if as soon as she realized that this is the type of people she's working with. But yeah, it's so nearsighted of them to not like realize that she's a major LinkedIn influencer, and like she can break a company with that sort of
Yeah. Like, yes, like just check the LinkedIn and you'll be able to see you probably don't want to like do something that crazy to anyone that has a voice, right, on the
anyone.
or anyone, yeah, or anyone, right? But like it's crazy. So wow, Udi. Well, the next thing that I want to know, and y'all drop your questions in the chat too if you're listening. What questions do you have for Udi? I know he's dropping a lot on content marketing, how to think about marketing. I've already I'm gonna literally shift, like, one of my values is I'm gonna steal Gong's and be like, everything we do needs to create raving fans. Like that's the way.
Use more raving fans.
Yeah, and it's just amazing, and tying it to every piece of the business, your support, your even when we were launching this integration, and like working with your team. I emailed, I think I emailed you or I emailed Ashley or something. I'm like, dude, working with your team has been amazing. We're integrating with a bunch of people.
Ashley is the best.
Yeah, and we're integrating with a bunch of people right now, and even integrating with y'all. Like, I was like, this is the best experience I've had. Y'all have, here's how to prepare for this. Here's what you should know. Here, like, it was just an amazing, fluid experience. Where
I think I'm going to put you on the spot. Can you share with me and everyone else, like, how does our new integration help salespeople? Because even I don't know enough about it.
Oh yeah, so what we do is y'all are the masters of call transcripts, pipeline, understanding what's going on in your pipeline, insights around that. And what we found, an insight that we had is like, oh my gosh, there's so much gold in these call transcripts. And how can we take that and make externally facing content from it? Because what I noticed marketers doing is going through Gong calls, trying to find notes, trying to do all that. And we said, well, salespeople need a lot of that content too. And why can't we just take what's happening in the call transcripts, use the AI super machines, and make content that you can share with your prospects immediately right after your calls? And so I started thinking about this, and I was like, this just makes it just, for me, it felt like a no-brainer. I was like, why wouldn't we build this? And so that's where we started. We're like, well, who are the first people we want to integrate with? Who has a great brand? Who do we want to align with? And it was obviously Gong, right? And so
I can't wait to see some of this content in the wild.
Yeah, man, it's amazing. So now we're taking those, and then we're helping essentially reps create their own content engines using the content we help them create, right? And so now they can create mutual action plans, business cases, call follow-ups, meeting briefs, anything that you need using the information from the call transcripts, right? And so
that's amazing.
Yeah, and I mean make their life easier, right? And so without actually needing to go dig and do all this stuff, and so we're basically trying to compress the time.
It's going to be super helpful for so many salespeople and marketers.
Yeah, we're actually building a product just for marketers next. That's going to look at all your call transcripts and then produce not white papers, but sexier, let's say, one pagers for prospects.
Well,
so, yeah, exactly. Like, why sift through everything manually, right? So yeah, that's what we're helping sales teams, Udi. But I'll show you sometime, man. I would love to do that. One thing though, before we go, and this is a question I wanted to make sure that I got from you, is like, you started with those unique insights, right? Of like branding and Gong, and it was amazing. It hit really well. How has the strategy evolved as the company's grown, right? And like, how has your content marketing kind of evolved from there? Or are you like, no, let's keep doing what we do and pour the gas on it? Like, how are you thinking about that as you start to grow, right? Or as Gong has grown, I should say.
So honestly, the content marketing strategy has, and I'm saying this in a positive way, has not evolved a lot. 7 years later, our Gong Labs content series is as strong as ever. It has enabled us to grow our LinkedIn following to over 250,000 followers on LinkedIn alone, and hundreds of thousands of followers on our email program. And remember, those are organic channels. When we post on LinkedIn without putting $1 behind it to promote it, potentially there's 250,000 people who follow us and see that. When we send out our email, there's maybe 400,000 or 500,000 people who see that because they've signed up and opted in to get more of our content. So there's really no hacks or tricks here other than creating valuable content that truly adds value to your audience's day. If you do that, they will come back for more. They will forward it to their friends, they will tag their friends and they will subscribe and they will follow you and they will want more of that. So that's been what we've been doing. Obviously, as you get more budget and as your audience shifts to maybe large enterprises, you'll want to invest in some maybe co-content productions with some of the analyst firms. You can do some Forrester papers, you can do IBC papers, you can do larger scale surveys. These things are helpful. Honestly, they create some spikes in traffic and downloads. You could absolutely do without them. And so for the earlier stage folks out there, just create content that you would want to consume. And that if you put a price tag on it, would people pay for your content? If not, go back to the drawing board and think, how do I create content so valuable that people will pay for it? Because counterintuitively, what many B2B marketers think, oh, but who pays for content? You do. Do you have a Netflix subscription? Do you have a New York Times subscription? Do you have YouTube Premium? Do you use Spotify? You're paying for content 5 times a day. Why are you creating crappy content that no one would pay for? We all pay for content all the time, so it can be done. People do pay for content. And every once in a while at Gong, we get an email from either a university professor teaching a course on sales asking us what it would cost them to license our content to teach in their classes, or a sales enablement director emailing us asking what we would charge her to use our content in her onboarding classes. And then we do a collective high five as a marketing team because we know that we've created content so good that people want to pay for it. And that's what you should strive for. Great content so good, people want to pay you.
Wow. And now I'm going to get into the weeds because I'm like a how-to person, right? I'm analytical. And I'm like, Udi, what is the perfect system that you've seen? Like team, let's call it team dynamic, team to set up in order to create an amazing content machine like Gong has? Like, do you need a writer, like a video for, like, how are you thinking about how to create the perfect content marketing team? Whether you have that now at Gong or like you're thinking about restructuring and doing it, like, I would love to hear from you how that looks today. As you know, I'm sure a lot of people on here would love to hear that as well, because I'm thinking about this as we go along.
So to be honest, we are going through some restructuring in our own team, and I haven't been running the team for over a year now.
Mm-hmm.
In my role as chief evangelist, but I can tell you that some of our best work was produced when it was a very, very small team. So we had to invest less in the overhead of campaign coordination and all these big team meetings. We were literally 3 or 4 people sitting in a pod in an office. Someone had a great content idea that either came from a customer call, so I wish we had your assistant to help us find it. I'll give you an example. Okay? When the pandemic started, we heard our content team, who are domain experts. This is maybe one tip. If you're hiring someone offshore that is promising you a blog post for $50 but knows nothing about your market, your audience, your competitors, and your product, it's a total waste of $50. Okay, give them to me. We'll go get drinks instead. Like, don't spend that money. It's not going to produce anything because you need a domain expert who understands what your audience is going through and what would add value to their day. So our content team. It was Chris Orlob initially, then Devin Reed. These are ex-salespeople who understand salespeople. They were listening to sales conversations, and they heard that during the early pandemic, similar to what happened last year, CFOs were clutching their wallets, and they were getting people to approve even the smallest deals with them. And that was new for many salespeople selling into SMBs, where the CFO was rarely, if ever, involved. And so within 48 hours, our content team took that insight and said, well, if we're hearing all these salespeople now getting blocked by the CFO, what if we put out a 2-pager on how to get past your buyer's CFO? That would probably be useful to them. They put that out. It took 48 hours to get out there, including design and everything. It was crappy design, but it worked. And guess what? That rose to the top of the charts of our most downloadable content within hours of putting it out there because everyone found it valuable at that time. So we were able to be hyper relevant for salespeople. We were able to be interesting and timely because they're trying to sell through this new situation of the pandemic and the CFO is blocking their deals. And it was only 2 pages, so it was immediately applicable. You could print it and put it on your cubicle and start working on it immediately. So that's how you create great content, by having a small team who can move quickly. Like, don't have a quarterly meeting on what content we should produce. These are people who should be thinking day in, day out, how do I produce amazing content today, and just get it out there.
Yeah, You know what? I love that, Udi, because it's like the timeliness is the important part here, right? The
Absolutely.
timeliness.
If we put it out 4 months later, it would not be relevant anymore.
Yeah, and it's doing it quickly, getting it out, and like that's amazing. So a couple golden nuggets here. It's like keeping the team nimble could be a superpower on the content side,
Yeah.
right? Like, you know, I'm noticing that on my company, we're 9 people now or something, but I'm still running all the content. Why? Because I know the problems, right? Like, and the other nugget that I heard you say is like, as much as we study all these content theories and frameworks and all these plays, it always comes back to problem and solution. What are the problems, right? Like sometimes we get so overthink the hell out of this. And it's like, what's the problem? Well, people can't get by CFOs. Well, what's the solution to that? Let's give them a template so they can get by the CFO, right? And like, and so you know, it almost, a lot of these great content marketers I'm seeing like Devin, Chris Walker, Adam, what they're pulling out is they're really good problem hunters, right? They're really good at seeking out problems and then tying themselves as the solution, or basically calling out the problems that people are scared to call out, or that people are like, oh yeah, that actually is a problem, right? And Gong did a great job of that with the content, and you guys did it quickly. Is the magic sauce, the timeliness. It wasn't like after COVID, you had a CFO buying guys like, oh no, this is what's happening now. Boom, let's get it like it done in 3 days.
Speed is absolutely a superpower of any company, and especially any marketing team and product teams as well, of course. Just move fast. It's okay to break some things initially. You know, as you mature, you'll want to break fewer things. I'm a teenager brand. But move fast, put things out there. The feedback you'll get on a crappy piece of content is so much more valuable than tinkering with it for another 3 months. As soon as you start putting things out there.
Amazing, man. Well, Udi, this has been great, dude. I know you probably have to run here at 30 minutes. Thank you so much, Udi. This has been amazing, my friend. Of course, so many golden nuggets. I'm going to write a post just on the golden nuggets we got on this. So
let's do it.
Yeah, well, I'll do that. I'll get it out in the blog. Not my blog, my newsletter.
Go check out our new integration, folks.
Yeah, go check out the Distribute Gong integration, everyone. If you need help, DM me. You guys are on here, so you know how to DM me. Happy to get on a call and help everyone set that up. So thanks, Udi. Appreciate it, my friend. Bye. Thank you so much, Udi. We'll talk soon, man. Appreciate it.